Let's start. Okay, welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I've only uploaded 2 videos this week, so this is probably the last one, maybe. So just a bit of context. This game is the first game that I have recorded since I went to the chess club. So this is the first game of the 16th of September 2021. So about a year and a half ago, roughly. So yeah, that's my rating then wasn't as good as it is now, but I have analysed it today with help of an engine. So it's going to the analysis is going to look much better than what I played in the game, because I'm now a lot more experienced, so I can see different tactics, and that's kind of why it's. Well, I mean, that's kind of why I decided to look at it, because then you can see the difference in level. So let's start. So we start with Queen Spawn opening and Englund gambit, which is. Well, I think when I saw this, I didn't really know what to expect, because Queen Spawn versus King Spawn, you can just take it. I forgot to mention I'm playing as white, and I lose in this game. But yeah, it's a very interesting game, I must say. So d takes c5, and knight to c6, attacking the pawn. I defend it with knight f3, very logical, and now f3. Now you could take, but then you would allow the knight to come up. If you can get, I can either allow the queen or the knight to come up. It doesn't really matter. But then if you take, you basically give black the tempo he needs to develop his pieces first. That's why you should develop yours first. Basically, just allow black to capture the pawn back. Because at the moment, white's on 1 pawn on material. If you look at the analysis, it's about the analysis says 1 pawn up in material, but it looks slightly better. After black takes, now white's actually still up in terms of position, because to develop pieces. Queen d5. Now this is the first this is a very inaccurate move in this game. The first inaccurate move, mainly because of the queen is a quite easy target, and it's kind of like wasting a tempo. What should have been played here is e4. Or what could have been played. Not sure what should have been played. This is one variation that could happen. It doesn't necessarily have to, but it's and it's just kind of transposed into in Italian with these bishops out, but the Italian usually has the queen spawn here, so it's kind of like the Italian without the queen spawn and the f4 for black, which is a very odd idea. I mean, you could probably play like if I live. So it kind of look like the 4 knights Italian. You can kind of play the same move orders to fight live, I think, this position. I don't know, maybe it's slightly more complex than that, but it looks like very similar to kind of the core structure of the pieces of the Italian. That's kind of what I saw the worst day. I didn't see it during the game, because during the game I wasn't really paying attention that much, because I was focusing on the game and not what different variations of the game could have been. So what was played is Queen d5, and then bishop to d6, blocking the pawn and basically kind of preventing development of this bishop as well. Because otherwise this bishop would have to be in Keto this side and come attack by the long diagonal. Knight f6 would have been a better move in this case, I think, because it just attacks the queen, and the queen just has to go back. Probably back to d1 or d2, something like that. Yeah, and you can't take this pawn because it's protected. You can't take the knight because it's protected. You can't take the pawn because it's protected, and you can't really do anything here. You just have to lose another tempo just going back, and then black's developed 2 pieces, and it would be back equal. In terms of king safety, black's king is slightly less safe because the pawns in front are not there, whereas here, this pawn is here, and so is this pawn. Okay, so bishop to d6, And then knight g5, protecting, moving the knight to be a little bit more aggressive and being protected by the bishop so the queen can't take. Yeah, very simple move. You want him to go for this fork here. So black responds by queen f6. And now queen f6 is not the best. I don't think it's the best move in this position. Is it the best move? No. So queen e7 would have been a better move according to the computer. You could have also played knight h6. We don't want the knight on the side of the board. It's very anti. It's like not the style of geobenning with this knight on this edge. Not in the style. So queen to f6 and knight c to e4. Now, in my analysis, because I have it written down, but that's why I know the moves are. It just says knight to e4, so it could have actually been either of these two knights. I went for this knight. I thought this knight was played. I wasn't 100% sure because the computer does suggest moving the other knight. Well, it's one of these two knights. You move one of these two knights here. And I went, it's probably this one because a lower rated player would want to develop the pieces to the centre. And you'd kind of want this knight to keep pressure. Keep the pressure on this pawn here. Because you can take it. And you don't actually have a consequence. Yeah, so I guess it was this one. Moving this knight could have also been played. And if let's say this happens, let's say knight g4, then since it's attacking the queen has to move queen g6, and knight takes g6 check. At the moment, it's winning for white +2. C takes d6, kind of weakening the pawn structure. You don't want to take with the queen because it's kind of the same idea here. You weaken the pawn structure. So c takes and then knight b5 attacks a pawn, attacks this pawn, attacks this fork place. So knight b4 allowing this check. Could have also gone here and forked however the computer the engine suggests this is better just because if you take the rook your knight can't really move out of this square. And the line continues on, knight takes d6 check, king f8, queen e5, queen takes e5, sorry, and knight takes c2 check. And what I set up here, where taking this rook is bad for the knight because you can't really escape, it's the same principle here, where king d1, knight takes a1, and white's still winning with +3 nearly of material, even though they're down a rook. Okay, sure. e4. You get this. Okay, knight f6, attacking the pawn. b4, bishop f4, sorry. Knight e8. What does knight e8 do? Here, I guess it does attack the knight. Bishop c4, wanting to go for a simple attack on the really weak f7 square. Queen takes d6 check. Queen takes d6 check. Knight takes d6. Bishop takes d6. King e8, king d2, a5, rook takes a1, b4, b5, bishop takes b5, a6, bishop a4. And if you take a look at it, even though black's winning with two rooks versus a bishop and a rook, you can see how you can actually see the difference in activity, where this rook and this rook aren't that active compared to two active bishops, the bishop pair, and this rook, which can just come into the open lines. And this pawn, it can go past, it can now go forwards. This pawn's isolated, so the pawn structure is even worse, because you have two isolated pawns compared to white's 4 on the king side and 2 on the queen side. Plus, the king is open. It can quite easily be attacked compared to this king. This king's also open, but you don't really have an attacking. There's no attack there. So there's kind of a difference in position in this instance, but this wasn't played. This is just a kind of a sideline that I kind of wanted to take you through, just to see some silly tactics that the computer suggests. So knight c to e4, queen e7. So back to this move. Very simple move. It's still protecting this fork here. Well, this wouldn't have been a fork. We're still protecting this square here. Also protecting it from this check, which would be quite annoying. Bishop to d2, and this is a really passive move, and it kind of stops the attack. It slows the attack because now black can just trade off pieces. Black plays knight f6, which is inaccurate. Black could have played bishop to b4, and then if white plays c3, bishop a5, knight takes h7, and this is what I was talking about earlier with the knight attacking this square. You can take it and there's no consequence, because d6, and then the knight can just move back. If the rook decides to take, you lose the rook and the knight, because queen takes on g8 check, queen blocks on f8, and then queen takes h7, losing the rook and the knight. So that's not what you want. So yeah, that's another sideline that could have been played. Yeah, the computer likes taking on here, which looks, it's very similar to the idea last on one of the previous lines, where you get the double pawns, because that weakens the pawn property for black. Okay. That wasn't played though. Knight f6 was played, and knight takes d6 check. Now, yeah, the idea here, the idea is to do the double pawn structure again, but in very similar case to the other one where you can take with the queen and the knight. However, in this position, the computer likes taking the knight because you can either take back with the pawn or the queen. Yeah, I guess so. Knight takes, pawn takes, and then knight back. Yeah, I mean it looks playable. Yeah, so this is, it looks playable, but it's not what was played. Knight takes d6 check, c takes d6, just doubling their pawns. Queen takes d6 could have also been played, but then there's this check, queen f7 check, king d8, queen takes g7, rook f8, knight f7 check. And what's very interesting about this position is if the queen does take, it's a blunder, because you think, yeah, but what does this check do? You just winning a pawn, aren't you? Take a look a little bit more carefully as where the knight can go. The knight can go here. What's that attacking? It's attacking the rook, it's attacking the king, and it's attacking the queen. So it's a triple fork. Triple fork, yeah. That's why rook f8 had to be played to stop the triple fork. And you just trade off pieces, and black will be down the exchange. So that's what happens if the queen would have taken. So that's why the c pawn had to take, and then the queen has to go back. What's interesting is you can take here as well. You can't take here as well because you're in check. So this check prevents you from taking the queen, which is quite nice. And then the queen can go back to f3 on a more safer square. Yeah, this is what was played. The computer, the computer likes d3 better because it's slightly more passive, I think. I think it allows the queen to be more open. I think that's why I liked it better. Because then the queen can be more central and have a lot more lines open up. But queen f8 was played, queen f3 was played, and then again, and this would be the most natural move to play afterwards. Knight to d4, attacking the queen. Queen to, in this case, queen to d3. Basically, what the computer suggested. H6 attacks the knight. Knight has to come back to e4 and d5, attacking the knight again. You want the knight to go away. So knight takes f6 check, queen takes f6. If you take a look at the position, black looks like black's winning. However, this queen and this bishop is quite powerful because look at all the open lines they have. They have loads of 6 open lines together compared to a knight and a queen with 2.5, maybe 3 open lines. And this bishop can come out any time on a diagonal, any of these diagonals. And they can castle, make the king safe again, because this king is really safe compared to this unsafe king. And that's kind of the idea of this unsafe king. You want to attack the king because it's now in a weakened position. At the moment, that isn't possible. So what was played in the game is e3. Now, back to the previous move. G takes f because the knight, but the knight's attacked twice. G takes f6 is also possible. It just makes the pawn structure a little bit more nicer to look at because then you have the 3 pawns, but you do have a backwards and double pawn. Because this pawn can't be defended. Well, can be defended by a pawn, but this pawn's forward, so it can't really be defended by a pawn. And it's also doubled. It's isolated. It's doubled, and you also have an isolated pawn here. But that's why taking with the queen is slightly better. So e3, having 2 ideas here, attacking the knight and bringing the bishop out, making a battery on this diagonal. e4 is played, counter-attacking the queen. Queen takes. So queen takes on d4, queen takes d4, and e takes d4, and now black is down a knight. Plus a weak pawn structure, where equal pawns, but it's winning for white definitely +8 in this position. Short castle activates the rook on this file, and it kind of protects the king. I would have probably developed this bishop first, probably to here because it's the most aggressive square, and then I would have I would probably castle this side to maybe. Yeah, I mean it's just practical choice. I think I'd castle this side because then I can get both rooks into the game a lot faster. With kingside castle, bishop to b4, and then rook e8, getting this file. Now what black wants is to get this passed pawn to promote. Except the king and the bishop's in the way, but otherwise it would do. Now here there was a slight mistake in what I had analysed compared to what I had written. I initially thought bishop b5 was written, and that would have led to a completely different game, where the black would have just been losing. Black still was losing at the moment, so it's +8. So remember the other game where I lost? Because I did a blunder. Yeah, it happens here too. Won't spoil it for you there. Attacks the bishop, b4 attacks the rook. Very simple. Rook e8. Yeah, defends the rook, opens the file. c4, wanting to open the centre. e3. Now the computer suggests either taking it or blocking with the bishop. Either of those is decent. But yeah, in this position you would probably want to take because then you get the king to safety quite easily. But you have to be careful of this rook now because now this rook's active. So, queenside castle, and now black has a forker. Or black can take on f2. So black can choose from forking and winning a bishop, or winning a pawn, and black chooses to win a pawn. If black had chosen to win a bishop, there's actually this fun little line, rook e1, and if black takes, you can take the rook. You can't take the rook at the minute, but you take the rook here. And now this rook's open, so now it's still winning for white, even though white now it's equal material. No, black's down a pawn, but it's still winning for white. Because after e5, wanting to attack the bishop, there's this check, rook e8, check, king f7, and then rook f8, check, king g6, bishop to c3, out of the way of the pawn, and d takes c4. And then this is quite an easy position for white, because this rook's pinning the bishop and the rook. So you can't move the rook, otherwise you lose the bishop. You can't move the bishop because you lose the rook. So then in this position you probably have to defend like that. Very, very easy to win with white in this position because of the pawns. So what was played is e takes f2, which is now +7 again, compared to +3 in this position. Now white counter takes with c takes d5, and now black plays d6, and it looks like it loses a pawn, and it probably does, except it doesn't, because if you take on there, the rook comes down like this, and then you have to trade the rooks in order not to lose them, because the rook's pinned to the king, and then you'd commit to a queen, and that would be game over for white. And if you don't take, black's probably going to take, or black's probably going to attack it with the bishop. So yeah, that's how white would lose in this position if you took the blunder. Luckily that doesn't happen. Bishop to b5. There's also some sidelines. If you do take, there's also this line where if the bishop does come out, if you do allow the bishop to come out, so instead of black bringing the rook down first, he brings the bishop out. There's this sideline. There's rook e1. I showed that on. There's this sideline, bishop to d3, and then rook e2. Rook e3. And what's interesting is you actually just leave the rook alone. You don't want to take it, because you take a look at the position. Black's up to rooks for. It's black's down a bishop and a pawn, I think, because black's got 5 pawns, white's got 6. But white has the doubled, isolated queen's pawn, which is very weak. Still +7, by the way. Just want to know. Just let you know. Rook e3 could have been a variation. This is also another variation where you take, where you have two bishops taking against the rook. A rook could have come to e3, king d2 to protect the bishop. But then you have this kind of attack. Let's say rook d8 after king takes d3, rook df1, just allowing black to take the rook, and then so allowing black to take the bishop for this pawn, because it's about equal material in that case, and this is still winning for white. So this is probably a variation that could have happened if it had taken. But after d6, bishop d5 is played, rook e4. Attacks the pawn and kind of pins it. It's not really pinned because it's protected. Rook hf1, attacking the pawn. Here's possible another variation that the computer likes playing this move, and you're thinking, why play this move? Doesn't it block the rook's view of the pawn? Yes, it does. Rook takes d4. However, this is a blunder, because bishop h7 check, and this is a discovered attack. King takes h7, rook takes d4, and now lights up a rook instead of a bishop. So yeah, this could have been played. But instead, rook hf1 and bishop to g4 attacking the rook. Rook de1. So the rook is under attack by the bishop. What do you do? Do you move the rook away to a safe square? Do you move the rook away to a safe square? Or do you blunder the rook? In two different ways. Wow, this is such a great game. Rook d2 would have been better, and then after a6, bishop to d3, rook c8 check, bishop c3, rook e1 check, king c2, rook takes f1. Now you don't want to take here because black takes back with a queen, so you actually you don't lose material, but you don't. It's not an equal trade in terms of position. And you get taken, and then bishop takes it back on f1 because remember it's protected. And then this is how it could have gone if white had played the correct move. So if I had not blundered my rook in one move. And rook c8 check. Yeah, makes sense. King b1. Now, if my opponent was clever, they would have found a mate in 5, starting with the move bishop 2. Not king to b1. And what my opponent did was take care. Starting with the move, and the mate in 5 starts with rook takes e1 check, and you have to take back with the rook. Otherwise, because you can take back with the bishop, but it becomes the same outcome. Because if bishop takes, you have pawn takes, and then you have rook takes. Same outcome. But in this mate in 5, now it's mate in 3. Bishop f5 check. King has to rook has to block. You get taken. Bishop blocks, gets taken, and then the king has to go to the corner, and rook c1 checkmate. So if my opponent had seen that, I would have lost in 5 moves. Unfortunately, that was not what happened. And we go back to the position with this move. Now there's also a slight, I mentioned that one. So now f takes e1 check, just giving the bishop away, so giving the rook away, nice. And rook takes e1, bishop takes e1. Very simple. And now it's a bishop, and it best is the bishop against the rook, except it's not. This is how it goes. This would be a sideline. This is the sideline. This is one of the sidelines. Sorry, I'm a little bit confused where I am in my analysis. But this is one of the sidelines that could have happened. So after bishop to c6, blocking. So bishop b6 kind of blocks the check, but kind of puts yourself in the pin, and it's attacked. So it's kind of it's not a good move. And it can be taken as well by the pawn, and if you take back, then you're getting check, so you just lose a bishop for that. But this could have been played if bishop c6 had been played, and then b takes c6, b takes c6, rook takes c6 check, king d2, and now black would be up a rook with a -6. But what was played in the actual game, king b1, king d2 is also fine to some extent. If king d2 was played, it would be -8. And then the computer can suggest all these lines of like reverting to a knight. Really silly idea. Yeah, but now this is completely winning for black. So jump from +8 to -6, which is interesting. So king b1, and f takes e1 queen, and there's also a check as well. So you have this take. You can also take with the rook as well. I check with the bishop just because it gets the bishop out of this attack, because now this pawn is no longer protected. So rook takes d4, bishop to c3 attacks the rook and kind of pins it to the pawn, but it doesn't really. Yeah, because the rook just takes d5, losing another pawn. That was -5. Bishop a4, bishop a4. And if you look at the position, it's a rook versus a bishop, if everything's traded off, and a rook and a pawn take versus the bishop, because I just lost 2 pawns in the middle. Bishop a4 moves the bishop out of the way of the rook, and kind of keeps it on a nice diagonal. Rook f8. And I wonder if you can see this move here. This is quite nice. It looks like a nice move until you realise the rook can be taken, and actually has no defence. So you actually just trade off rooks, but which isn't really what you want to do. The computer suggests moving the rook out of the way because you're down material. You don't want to trade off pieces. But I played rook takes f8 check, king takes f8, and h3, kicking the bishop out. Bishop f5 check, king c1, and rook c5, kind of pinning it, but not really. And bishop c2. Bishop takes c2, king takes c2, d5. Now black wants to promote this pass pawn. This pass pawn, yeah, and it's also isolated as well, which is nice for white. But it's pass pawn. Black wants to promote it, and they can, because it's a winning game for black. b4 attacks the rook, and then rook back to c8, just kind of putting the rook at the defensive place. And if you'd looked carefully, if playing b4 was a possible way to attack the rook, and you couldn't have moved the bishop because the bishop was pinned to the king. So if you're thinking bishop b4 pinning the rook to the king, doesn't work because you put yourself in check. So let's continue. So rook to c8, king d3, b5 is played, and bishop d4. And now you can see it's definitely winning for black. Black is up 2 pawns. So 1 pawn and a rook, so up 6 pawns. As shown in the analysis, a6 is played, and bishop c5 check, protected by the pawn, so you can't take it. What's interesting though is you can take it. It's still winning if you take it, because you just have to chase the pawn. There's no way. Yeah, it's because the king's in the box. You know what the box is. This. The square. The box is this set of squares where if the king's in the box on black turn, then the king can't take the pawn. That's kind of the idea behind the box. Is if you know if a pawn is going to promote or not, and then the king can defend it. So that would be a possible variation. Instead of that, we have king f7, trying to get the king to a more active square. It's because now it's in the end game, you want the king to be active. King d4 was played, attacking the pawn, and king e6 defending the pawn. g4. So it's very simple. Very simple idea. You just want to push the pawns. Rook g8 is played. It's kind of a little bit passive. I don't know if I would have played that. I would probably played f8 maybe. It works as an idea, but I would have played f8 and just put it on the open file. h4 is played, and g5 h5. The reason g5 isn't as good as an idea as you would expect, because h5 closes this side of the board. Now these pawns can't move unless they're taken by a piece. So now the board's kind of closed, in the closed position. We have rook d7, king d3, rook f7, but again, like what I said, putting the rook on the open file, and bishop to d4. Now the idea of bishop d4, as you'll see in a moment, but since these pawns are now on white squares, you can't take them because the bishop's a dark squared bishop. Therefore, we have to attack the dark squared pawns, and luckily these pawns are dark squared, the black pawns, and therefore they can be attacked. Notice how they're blocked by white pawns, and that's how you know they're a lot easier to attack. Rook f4. Now the idea of this I didn't see in the game. I thought maybe you're just closing off the king, kind of putting pressure on this pawn. I don't know, something like that. Bishop d7. So this is what I played, and then rook takes g4, bishop takes h6, just trading off pawns. Now I have d4 check and king d3. King d5 is played. Now, if you notice, you'll see this in many rook endgames, as once kings are on opposite squares like this, the key theme of the idea is to push the king back onto less central files or ranks, and in this case it'd be possible if some random move since bishop d7 was played, instead of playing rook h4, which was played in the game, you could have played rook g3 check, king to c2, or king d2 or e2, king to e2. any of these three moves, yes, it's not a move. Any of these three moves would have been possible to play, and then it would have continued on, and black could have surely been winning. I'm fairly certain this is like mate in 20 or something like that, because it's very difficult to prevent this pawn from promoting. Therefore, that would have been an idea. Another idea, but what I've played in the game is rook h4 and bishop f6. Now bishop f6 is kind of a blunder because you blunder the pawn. You can push the pawn in this case, but then you actually kind of lose to a fast pawn. So it's kind of, yeah, it's not the best. I don't think it's really the best idea to push this pawn, but you can do. So it's not losing if you push it. I mean, you're going to probably lose anyway because it's a rook versus a bishop endgame, which a rook versus a bishop, if they're alone, is a draw played with accuracy. However, in this endgame, black's winning because of the pawns. So bishop f6 was played, and the idea was to attack the pawn. However, what I didn't see in the game was rook takes h5, which actually protects the pawn, and I wasted tempo trying to attack it. So instead I attacked d4 pawn, bishop takes d4, and now the king's open. Same with this king. Now it's 3 pawns and a rook versus 2 pawns and a bishop. So g4 is played, and black's wanting to promote this pawn. So bishop f2, attacking this square, so the pawn can't move. Rook g5 was played. It's a move. It's definitely a move. Bishop d3 just blocks the movement of the pawn. Rook f5. What does this do? Really interesting. I think it blocks the king off because now the king can't get across. But yeah, maybe. Bishop h4. Now black starts to play quite weirdly. Like rook f3 check. That's quite a normal move actually. King e2. But now you can't push the pawn because the pawn's protecting the rook, which if you push the pawn, you lose both pieces. So you don't want that to happen. King e4, defending the rook. Bishop f2, blocking this check, and also defending against this check. However, g3 is played, and bishop back to g1. Again, still defending the checks. Also defending this pawn promotion. G2 is played. And A3, which actually loses a pawn. It would have been probably better if just to move the bishop, because this pawn is not going to promote. Because if you look at, if it's kind of this idea in bishop endgames, is if the bishop's on the same colour as the promotion square of the pawn, the bishop can protect the square. If it's not, if they're different, so if the bishop was a white colour bishop, a white square bishop, and the pawn was promoted on the black square, then they wouldn't be able to defend it. But in this case, it can. So A3, just blundering a pawn because that it can take. However, king f4, bishop h2 check. Now this is where it kind of falls apart for black a little bit. King g4, bishop back to g1, and rook h3. King f2 attacking the pawn, and now you don't really have a defense for this pawn. Rook g3 in this situation would possibly work, or maybe even rook h1, and if white trades off pieces, you have this nice winning endgame, because because your king is more active on and is blocking the enemy's king. So you just take that pawn as you promote, you're still winning for black. However, rook f3 check, just blundering a pawn, and it's equal trade now. King takes g2, rook takes a3. Really simple. Now bishop c5, which was actually recommended earlier in the game, and rook a4. You wanted to attack the pawn, but it's kind of weird this move, because it doesn't attack the pawn, because the bishop's there. So you just stuck behind the pawn now, not doing anything. And now king f2 and a5. And in this position, it kind of gets slightly worse for black, because b takes a5, rook takes a5, king e3. Now this king has to run up here, has to go up the diagonal. King f5, king d4, and rook a8. It probably would have worked better if the king would have marched with my king up to probably up here, and that would probably work better for black. But in this case, yeah, it's still winning. It's a rook and a pawn versus a bishop. King d4, rook a8, and king d5, protecting the king coming from this to the square. These squares. However, there is this check with the rook. Rook d8 check, kind of annoying. However, it's probably you're quite likely to win the pawn in that case, because you go here, and then you have to go back. Then the rook has to go back and protect the pawn, otherwise it's taken. So yeah, everything's possible now, except for white winning, of course. Rook d8. Rook b8 is kind of a very simpler way to do it. King c6. So the move order slightly changed from this check, with now black's turn instead of white's turn. And now this is definitely winning, because you can just push the pawn, and there's nothing really white can do about it. b4, exactly. And for white to elongate the game, like white has to go attack the rook or defend the pawn somehow. And white attempts to attack the rook with king c2, king c7. They only have rook b5 and bishop to d4. Again, it's trying to stop the pawn from promoting. However, in contrast to the previous one, where the promotion square was on g1, the promotion square in this one is b1, and you can see it's a white colour compared to the black bishop. And that means the black bishop can't stand on the square. You'll have to stand on probably b2 to stop the pawn. b3 is played. King c6 attacking the rook, and rook a5. In this position, king b6 doesn't work, because you can just push the rook down to defend the pawn, or something similar like that. You can even attack the bishop. but the rook's not going to be taken. Black can just move the rook out of the way. Bishop to c3, attacking the rook, and rook a2. Very simple. And now this pawn's going to promote properly. King c5, b2, bishop takes b2, and rook takes b2. And now in this position, this is the last position I have on my scorecard. I believe white resigned, so I believe I resigned in this position, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just going to give you the endgame because it's mate in 13. Very simple mate in 13. Rook endgames are quite easily to play. You just have to keep the king out of the centre. So yeah, king d1, king c, rook d2, king c3, and then I just have to move the rook out of the way. And king c4, you want to attack the rook, however, the king's coming now, king e5, king c3. This wouldn't work because the rook comes down. So king c3 possible. Yeah, same idea. The rook d4, king c2, and so on. You just march the king across. It's a very simple checkmate pattern. This is probably one that most players should know. King b3, king rook c4, and so on, and so on, and so on. And now it's mate in 5. King c4, king a3. King c3, king a2, king c2, okay, king a3, yeah, and then rook c4, and you have to move back to a2, and then it's checkmate, rook a4. And so that's where we end the analysis of the game. My first game ever, or ever recorded. It isn't my first game ever. Yeah. But it's a very well played game. It's actually one of my longer games because I play when I was early on my chess career, I would always play until the end game, or at least to a place that I knew which would be winning for one side. Here, this is winning out. Now I would probably resign a lot earlier on. I would probably resign not to blunder the rook. I wouldn't have blundered the rook from now. But yeah. It's a really interesting game. A lot to take away from it. Yeah, and also a lot of improvements that have been shown. Now, yeah. So thanks for watching. I will see you on the next analysis. Also, actually, would it be better to record longer videos like this one, or 45 minutes, 50 minutes long? Or 20, maybe 15-minute long videos of games, because what I've noticed is the viewer retention for long games is a lot lower than it is of short games, because people want to stay for all the games as compared to just take a look at what's happening. So no, I mean, it could be possible that I start just doing 15-minute games. No, I'm doing 50 minutes in terms of the time I've played in the game. I mean, of the time analysed. But then that would take away a lot of the really cool lines. So I mean, I'm thinking about possibly changing, but I'm not sure. Because I quite like these long games because there's a lot to show. Yeah, but thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye. Bye.